Grammar Bits number 12 is titled Jobs of Nouns. We started talking about terminology with nouns, whether it was common or proper, concrete or abstract, collective, compound, and then part 2 we looked at what the rules were for making singular and plurals into possessives. Throughout the year, we've talked about all the different jobs nouns can do, and so now we're going to just wrap it up by looking at them individually. So we have 6 different jobs that nouns can do, and we've kind of made up a little mnemonic to help us remember them. And so that is iPods, A, or AIPods. However you want to put them together, or you could come up with your own mnemonic. And this is not really the way that I would think of introducing them to you, but since we've done them already, we're going to go in the order of how they're used here. So the first job is the indirect object. We've done these in sentence patterns with subject plus action verb plus IO plus DO. The IO is the indirect object, and it answers the question to whom or for whom. Mary is the subject. Bought is our verb, and it's an action verb. We could see someone buying something. We always look for our DO next. Mary bought what? Mary bought candy. And if we have a direct object and still have some words left in between, we ask Mary bought candy to whom or for whom, and that answer is to Jim. So in this case, the noun Jim is doing the job of the indirect object. Another job that nouns can do are predicate nouns. And predicate nouns work with this sentence pattern, subject plus linking verb plus predicate noun. And we can often have nouns that come later in a sentence with a linking verb. What makes it a predicate noun is that it's going to link back and rename your subject. So Mary is our subject, is our verb, and that is a linking verb. And so we're looking when we see a linking verb for a noun or an adjective that renames Mary. Mary is a teacher, and that is a noun. We've talked about ways to check for nouns. We can put a, an, or the in front of it to check it, and that does work. Another noun, or another job a noun can do, is as the object of a preposition. As we've worked with prepositional phrases this year, we've really looked at, as we've looked at nouns in the job of prepositional phrases, we haven't really called it the object of a preposition, but it's really what we've been doing. We look for a preposition, in, we look for a noun that's at the end, and so the phrase is in our school. In is a preposition, school it would be then the object of the preposition or the noun at the end of the phrase. And we've also talked about how verbs are not allowed to be in the middle of our prepositional phrases. Then we have the direct object, which we talked about up here. And so it can go in its own sentence pattern, subject plus action verb plus DO. So we've got Mary is our subject, bought is our action verb, and we ask our question, Mary bought what? Or Mary bought whom? Mary bought candy. And so we could say that Mary bought whom? Mary bought Jim, but obviously in the context of our sentence, that's not what the sentence is trying to say. The most familiar job of the noun is probably as the subject, and that's just who or what our sentence is talking about. We've talked about how you can have more than one subject, how pronouns can take the place of our subject, but that subject is one of the most common jobs that nouns can have. And then our last one is an appositive. And we've talked about these more in the context of smiley face tricks and being descriptive. Our subject here would be Milky Way. And so an appositive follows a noun, or follows a comma, and it's got another noun somewhere in there that replaces or renames the subject or whatever other noun it's describing. So galaxy is another way of saying the Milky Way. Now typically when we're talking about appositives, I ask students to have 6 or 8 words in their appositive to make it a little bit more descriptive. But as long as there is a noun in there, that noun is doing the job of the appositive. So what we'll be doing for the rest of this unit is really just trying to figure out, in the context of a sentence, what the jobs of the nouns are doing. And so, in doing this, we're probably going to be identifying all the noun jobs because we go through a process, and our process starts with finding prepositional phrases. So we see the preposition for, and so we want to look for the noun at the end, and that's game, for Monday's soccer game. Now, I'm still haven't figured out the job of my noun goalie, so I'm going to start with then looking for my subject. Nancy is who the sentence is about. Then I look for my verb. Nancy was, and that is a linking verb. And so if I look back to my sentence patterns, what's allowed to come after a linking verb? A predicate noun. So Nancy was the goalie is a noun that renames what Nancy was doing. In the next sentence, we'd go through the same process. Look for prepositional phrases. We want to get rid of those to make it a little bit easier to identify the other parts of the sentence. She is our subject. She threw. Threw is an action. I can see that. So if I look at my sentence patterns again back here, what goes with an action verb? A direct object. I ask the question whom or what. She threw what? She threw the ball. And so you could continue going through all of these sentences. I only have one noun underlined, but we could really go through. We've already figured out, like in this sentence, that Nancy is a noun, that game is a noun, and since it's at the end of a prepositional phrase, it's doing the job of the object of a preposition. And so we could go through really and identify every single noun in every single sentence and what the job is doing. And so for practice, we'll be doing these in class. If you're absent or you want extra practice, you can always go back and do these again.